Hello cosmonauts, today we're going to be exploring what Reddit asks, what's an unexpectedly well-paid job? When it's answer 1. The year I got out of high school, I picked up a job at a private country club working in the bag room. When I spotted a member, I'd grab their reserved private cart from the garage and load their clubs on it that they kept stored in the bag room. A couple of damp towels hung on the back, pencils, scorecards, and everything waiting by the time they stepped up. Place was primarily executives and whatnot for like the major automotive companies here in Michigan. I made a couple hundred each day in tips. During a couple of tournaments that took place, I went home with around $500 in my pocket. I took home so much each day that I kept forgetting to pick up my paycheck, which was something like another $400 each week, late 90s minimum wage. The only part of the job I hated was using the picker to get the balls off the range. There was always some ass bag trying to use me for target practice. Someone answer.
I did something very similar out of high school. A few friends and I all got a job at the nicest golf course in the area and worked the carts. We literally drove golf carts around all day. Someone pulls into the parking lot, pull up with a golf cart. Someone comes back, take the golf cart around back and spray it down. The amount of NHL hockey players and other big-time people that came through was insane, and so were the tips. Almost everyone who dropped off their carts would either give us $20 or their leftover booze, which basically funded our partying for the weekends. It rains a lot where we live though, so it was dead a fair amount of times. But our boss was the most chill dude ever. Let us put a TV and Xbox in our little cart building and we could just chill all day. It was pretty unreal. Definitely the most fun job I've worked.
Answer 2. Bartending. Some people know, but the overwhelming majority don't. If I only worked 20 hours, 2 days a week this year, weekends, I would make close to $50,000. If I really tried and worked 2 solid jobs 5 days a week, I would easily hit close to, if not over, $100,000. This doesn't apply to every bar or bartender. You're not going to make this type of money at an Applebee's or a super franchised corporate establishment. Answer 3. My dad's a plumber, owns his own business. He works about 50 hours a week, half of that driving. Between licensing fees, tools, parts, and gas costs for all that driving, he brings home about $60,000 a year. He's also 60 years old, has no health insurance, too much income for subsidies, and not enough to pay $500 a month for an HD plan, and has arthritis so bad he'll be forced to retire in the next year or so. He regrets it and told me to do whatever I could to not have a trade job. Answer 4. Hot dog vendors can earn 6 figures in a year. Someone answer.
Buddy of mine went to Hopkins back in the day and noticed that the lacrosse games, while well attended, had no vendors. Nobody seemed to want the job, so he asked if he could. Year later, he had all his friends bagging hot dogs the night before and was buying drinks and chips by the truckload. Sold everything for $1, came home after every game with trash bags full of dollars. Year or so later, the school realized what a cash cow it was and took over the gig. But my buddy had pretty much paid for school by then.
Answer 5. Autopsy tech. I started out making $15 an hour in Illinois. Just need a high school diploma and the ability to not puke at the sight of blood and guts. I loved that job, but only left because I needed surgery on my knee. I'd totally still be doing that if I lived in a town with a morgue now, but I live in the Alaskan bush. Anybody needing an autopsy just gets sent to Anchorage. Addendum to everyone bitching about $15 an hour being nothing. This was in 2009. Yeah, it probably isn't enough to have a family on, but I was a 19-year-old and it was my first job. Answer 6. Skilled trades are a good way to have a solid income if you're willing to put in the time and effort to learn them. Unions are a big part of the high wages in some parts of the country. CDL trucking isn't what it used to be, but the more specialized you get, the better it is. With any of these jobs, it helps a lot to be willing to move where the work is, whether it's oil fields or housing booms.
Hey you, if you enjoying the video, subscribe for more histories.
Answer 7. Dog groomer. It's a weird industry though, and a skill that really has to be learned hands-on. Grooming schools can be a good start, but I know great groomers who never went to school for it, and terrible groomers who spent thousands on classes. Just being good at handling dogs is the best foundation for success. It's not the easiest job in the world. It's largely commission-based, and you're lucky if you get any benefits out of it. but if you get enough practice in to be good at it and build up a loyal clientele base in a decently affluent area, it's good money. The haircuts I do range from $70 to $175, and I'm paid 50%, which averages out to around $30 to $35 an hour most days. Not everyone tips, but those that do usually tip $5 to $20 per dog, and because I do about 40 dogs in an average week, that's an extra couple hundred in my pocket. So if you don't mind working on your feet all day, sustaining repetitive motion injuries, not taking lunch breaks, dealing with insane customers, and picking shit off dog buttholes, it's a good living.
Answer 8 truckers. And no, not the cross-country truckers, which are kind of almost a minority. The drivers I'm talking about are the ones who are delivering to restaurants and whatnot. You can make $60,000 to $100,000 a year easily. But now that you think about it, yeah, this would expected pay well, because imagine if all trucks stopped moving for one day. Edit. I obviously meant $60,000, not 60. Answer 9 surgical technologist. You assist in surgery and get the room ready with all the things you need, or may need, for the surgeon to complete the surgery. You also clean the room afterward. Talking about surgery makes your mind wander, and actually being in it is a different story. A lot of people I've talked to in the field say that you kind of get in this work mode. And it's true. I find it easier to be in surgery than to talk about all the gruesome details. You help people, but it's a lot of work and long hours on the feet. I actually find that you make more than the average from what Google says, and some places start out around $40 an hour. 1 year of trade school and you're off. Just keep a level head and know that you're part of a team that is doing what they can to help others. Also, I work 3 12-hour shifts straight and then have 4 days off, so that's nice too. If you take the on-call hours, then a lot of places will pay time and a half or double if you're called in, and honestly, you can easily make around 6 figures if you work your 3 12s and a few on-call days. Take the trade school classes at 18 and get in a hospital, and then you're off. If you wanted to go into nursing afterwards, you could easily make 1.5 to 2 times as much, but that's 3 to 4 years of school and money. But if you're already in the field as a tech, then you'll have a much easier time getting in and also getting hired. Kind of rambling on, but that's my 2 cents. Also, time goes by a lot faster, if that makes sense. You get in that work mode I talked about, and you get focused on surgery, and before you know it, it's been 3 hours. You learn a lot on the job, and if anything medical excites you, then I feel like this is a great entry to the field. Answer 10. I'm an instrumentation and controls technician for a utility company in Georgia. I'm 23, just bought a house and make plenty of money. It only requires a 2-year degree and is in shortage because of the baby boomers retiring. It's mostly troubleshooting and repairing control systems in industrial facilities and transmitters that read process measurements. Answer 11. I'm a pricing analyst / cost estimator. I got my job with no experience in the industry and an associate's degree not related to the job field. Granted, I was an intelligence analyst in the Army, but that also has nothing to do with my job. Took me 3 months of training, but I make $75,000 a year in a level 1 position. Next year, when I hit level 2, I'll be making about $82,000 a year. At level 4, I can make around $110,000 per year with yearly assessments, raises, and bonuses after. I work in manufacturing at a large international company. Answer 12. Don't know if it's been said yet or not. You can make an insane amount of money owning a landscaping company. I have made $9,000 in a weekend before. A weekend. Typically, you try to average $60 per hour mowing yards, and depending on how good you are at landscaping and running a business, I bid jobs making $400 per hour pretty often. Where I live, you only work 7 months of the year. The other 5 months, you can decide to pick something else up or just relax. Most people that own a landscaping company easily bring in $100,000 per year, working 7 or 8 months after 5 years. Obviously, the less you have been in business, the less money you make. The longer you've been in business, the more potential earnings you can make. Answer 13. Teaching in international schools. Even lower-paying international schools pay about what a public school teacher in the USA would make, but in places where the cost of living is a fraction of the USA's. Then, higher-tier international schools can pay even better. I know people making over $80,000 a year teaching in Thailand, where a local with a bachelor's might expect to make about $500 to $750 a month and be comfortable. All this, plus a chance to live abroad and travel, while teaching kids that are typically much better behaved and more academically minded than kids in the USA. We'll never go back to the USA to teach.
That was enough for today, cosmonaut. I'll wait for you in the next travel.